Hey guys, this is Tyler from Fight Stories. We have an absolute banger of an episode for you today, brought to you by our good friends and sponsors at Absolute Nature CBD. Head over to their website at absolutenaturecbd.com and make sure you hook yourself up with the Fight Stories promo code Goon Squad. That's Goon Squad. You're going to get set up with 20% off everything. They get a whole bunch of awesome stuff. And we are so pumped to bring you this episode today because we have the living legend, the man who wrote the book Goon, Doug the Thug Smith. If you're familiar with the movie Goon, it's based on this book. It's based on his life. This is the real life Doug Glatt. We went over to Hanover, Massachusetts. John and I traveled down there with our buddy Tyler Shazma, and he filmed the whole thing, and it's here on YouTube for you guys right now. If you guys are loving the YouTube video aspect of it, we want to do more of it, but we need some more Patreon supporters. There's going to be a whole bunch of bonus content available from all these things that we're doing, so head over to patreon.com/fight stories. There's different tiers that you can donate and help support the cause. We want to keep bringing you these high quality guests and episodes and be able to travel and get the video content and stuff so that we can share it around. And I think it's just it's a unique way to do it because John and I, we like connecting with these people. The phone interviews, sometimes they're good too, but it's always best to get to them in person, and we're traveling from everywhere to meet these guys. So thank you so much for supporting us and for supporting the podcast. We really hope you enjoy this one. We had a wicked time doing it. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we got Doug the Thug Smith.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Fight Stories. I'm John Moses. I'm here with Tyler Morrison. We're in Hanover, Massachusetts at the Hanover Police Boys Club. This is a big episode. I am fucking pumped about this one. We're here with Doug Smith, a.k.a. Doug the Thug, a.k.a. the real-life Doug Glatt.
You've seen the movie Goon. You love the movie Goon, but we're here with the man who inspired the movie. You wrote the novel Goon, and it became a pretty cool movie. Like, I mean, especially
this is the third time that we've brought this up on this podcast, I think. But in the States here, you know, probably what it was straight to Netflix or something.
Yeah, they, for some reason, decided to go to Netflix. I don't know if they had an opportunity to make more money.
Yeah.
Or they felt like it would generate more money than going right to the theater.
Right. And then getting trashed. But anyway, in Canada, right to the theaters.
Exactly. up north, it went right to
Oh,
the
yeah,
theater.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
my family went to see it. It was like me, my brother, you know, whatever friends were in town, my wife, my dad,
It's an
his
event.
wife. Yeah. It was
a hockey movie in Canada? It's an event.
It was we were there's 20 people in the theater, 10 of them were my family, and we took up a whole row. My dad loves it. He's like, we walked out, he's like, that was great. You know, fucking Oscar winner in his mind.
Right.
Doug, thank you so much for coming on today or agreeing to do the show and then having us in this place. This gym is a cool old fucking spot. We can talk about that. There is so much to talk about. But thank you for doing the show, first of all.
I appreciate you guys giving me an opportunity. I love it.
Yeah. So everybody knows, like, sort of the basically the move from the movie forward. You know, like basically when it starts off in the stands and the guy, you know, somebody throws a beer on him and your buddies. How much of that is real? Did you have like a skinny, mouthy kid that hung around and sort of got you into some trouble?
So the book was written by one of my best friends, Adam Fratazio, and we grew up together here in Hanover.
Yep.
In fact, we both have been to this gym since we were 15, 16-year-old kids. We worked out here. And Adam really wasn't a skinny, weaselly type of mouthy kid. He was actually probably the opposite. He was a very well-respected, nationally ranked power lifter.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
And wasn't mouthy at all.
Right.
But Adam had a background in hockey. He played high school hockey. He played college hockey. In fact, he was a captain, I think, at Framingham State College, so he could play. And the whole thing kind of evolved through Adam because I grew up, like I said, in this gym here as an amateur boxer.
Right.
I fought in the New England Golden Gloves and some other tournaments. And Adam always said, Jesus, if Doug could learn how to skate,
Yeah.
which I never played hockey as a kid growing up. I just didn't. It just wasn't a sport I played, even though all my friends did.
Yeah.
They played high school hockey and whatnot. But if I could just learn how to keep my balance on the ice, maybe my fighting background back in the 80s where fighting was really prevalent. I mean, you were allowed to do it. You could suck at playing hockey.
Greatest
but you could
era
get a
for
job in the
fights.
NHL or specifically in the minors.
Yeah.
So Adam always had this dream. We got to get Doug on skates someday, and it just never evolved until I was 20
I've
years
got
old.
this visual of you on fucking the double-bladed bomb skates playing in the NHL,
Yeah,
the AHL, just so
exactly.
you could go.
So to answer your question, Adam is the guy in the movie,
Right. Okay.
partially.
They've
but
taken
not-
liberties with it
Right.
for entertainment
But
purposes.
he's a funny, intelligent guy.
Right,
Clearly,
for sure,
if
for
he
sure.
wrote the book.
And no more than, Stifler from American Pie who plays Doug Glatt,
Yeah.
which is supposed to be me. I
Yeah.
mean, listen, I'm no Harvard scholar by a long shot, but they certainly made him out to be
A complete dum-dum.
a jackass. And, so there is a little Hollywood script written in comparison to our book, which is obviously an autobiography.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is your brother gay?
I don't even have a brother, number one.
Oh.
I'm not Jewish. I don't like corn dogs. I didn't go to my training camp in Double Runners. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of funny script
Right,
writing in
right,
there,
right,
and
right,
I
right.
get it. They
Yeah.
need something to sell.
Sure.
It wasn't. The movie obviously wasn't the Doug Smith story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we'll jump around a lot on questions here and
Of course.
throughout, but the book was read by a guy who's basically. He was on a writing team
Yeah.
for Hollywood people, and he read the book while he was on a flight.
Yeah.
And he said to his writing team, he said, we should make a movie about hockey enforcers because they've been a part of the game forever.
Yeah.
And people love them. And look what they do to the audience and the team, what they bring. And we can use this nitwit's book that I just read for like some kind of a background.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it all evolved,
How did the book get published in the first place?
Adam wrote the book. Adam basically said, I would call Adam my first years of playing, say, in the East Coast Hockey League, and I'd call him every night. I just got in a fight with so-and-so, or, I didn't play tonight. I'd tell him what was going on because he was my backbone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, after a year or so, 2 seasons or so of listening to stories, Adam said, we should write a book.
Right.
And I said, listen, I'm not writing a book. I barely made it out of high school. You want to write a book?
I can't even hold a
Yes.
pen. My
Seriously.
hands are swollen.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we sat down and we basically, chronologically put it in order, how it started from skating on a pond at 20 years old to getting a tryout in the East Coast League at 23.
So
24.
that part of the movie's true.
That's legit.
Fucking terrible skater.
Never skated. I never played hockey. I never played my
The first-
organized hockey game till I was almost 22.
That's crazy to make it to the level that you made it to only start skating at that age. I mean, we off camera or whatever, we were talking a little bit about Nick Fatiu
Yeah,
and
that same type of thing.
he started when he was 12, and that's a late start.
Right.
I believe
Yeah.
it was 12 or
22 is
12, I think.
And I looked at a
fucking
guy like Nick
bananas.
Fatiu. I mean, I loved that guy. He was
Yeah.
like a for real hero because, like you said, I've seen the story. I've watched it. And I had similar background. I was a boxer. He was a boxer.
Right.
And fighting was allowed in the game. And earlier, Adam had said to me, we'll get you on the ice, and we're going to teach you balance. We don't care about carrying the puck. We don't care
Right.
about shooting and scoring. We just want to learn balance so that when you drop your gloves, you're not going to get pulled down
Yeah.
and made a fool of yourself.
Right.
And if you can stand long enough to get a few shots in, your punching power, your ability that you've learned already through boxing might do something for you. That's kind of how.
So how long before? So is it? It's not your first time on ice. At 20 years old on this pond.
I skated maybe 2 or 3 times as a kid that was maybe
So your
12
whole
or
life,
13. Yeah, I never played
4
hockey.
times you're 20. So how
If
long
that.
before you're fucking skating on a pond and you're 20 and your first
Organized
semi-pro hockey game?
Just a little over 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And that first time you went on the pond and you were skating, was it with that goal in mind? Like, we're going to get you?
No, it was just to finally get out with my buddies because they'd all go and skate. They would rent ice on a Friday night at midnight, and I would be in the stands just hanging out watching
Yeah.
with other friends.
Yeah.
But I was
Drinking beers.
athletic.
Yeah.
which is I was probably fortunate to pick it up that well because I was athletic.
Right.
But I mean, if you guys have skated, it's no joke.
Well, I still
balance-wise.
fall down.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
again,
I've been skating since I was 5, but it's one of those things where you get back on the ice after a couple of years where you haven't, and it still takes.
you're wobbly.
Yeah, it takes a little while to get
So,
back.
and even at that point, I was a gym rat. I was a boxer, but I was still a gym rat. And I
Yeah.
was 6'2", 250. So I
Wow.
wasn't skinny. So balance was a serious issue for me at that
Right.
weight.
Yeah.
But again, Adam had this incredible focus of just learn your balance, and I'm going to help you. And we would drop the gloves, we'd square off, we'd tug and pull, and he was great at it because he was thick, he was strong, and he could skate, he could play. So he was really the guy that got me going.
Yeah.
Where
So did he have a connection to get you a tryout?
Yeah, so my connection.
Like that whole fucking
yeah,
process
my
seems
connection came. I started skating at 20. I played my first organized hockey league when I'm about 22, and it was that summer. Locally here, we had what they used to call the Pro-Am Hockey League in the summer. Pros and amateurs. We
Right.
play one night a week during the summer just to get on the ice. The pros want to stay in shape a little bit.
Sure.
They go out and have a few beers after, whatever. But in this particular league, there were tons of tough guys. Lyndon Byers, Jay Miller, Nick Vittillo, Chris
Yeah.
Nyland.
Yeah.
All
real
the
dudes that
Boston,
live in this
New
area.
York.
Yeah.
Or they vacationed down the Cape.
Yeah.
And they would come up and play this one
In
night.
this game.
And it was an incredible league. So I was fortunate. I knew a coach named Bob Sylvia. He's legendary in our area. He coached one of these summer league teams, excuse me, and he allowed me to play for him. Now, it was awful because my skating was horrendous.
I was just about to say,
Right.
you're fucking have NHL players, and here you are,
Right.
fucking ankle burning. They must have been like,
Sure.
"Who is this fucking guy?"
Right.
You know?
And I mean, I could do enough. Like we still have VHS video of me, when I was out playing with this league, and my skating wasn't all that bad.
Okay.
But in comparison, of course,
Oh,
those
God,
guys
yeah.
are lightning fast.
Yeah.
But my whole thing was this: if I can get in and go against a Chris Nyland or a Lyndon Byers, maybe I'll be noticed. And that's what happened. That league, I got noticed trying to fight everybody. And I didn't get a lot of fights from people.
Because they'd be like, "Fuck off."
Fuck off. This is summertime hockey.
You
I don't even
idiot.
know you.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
kill you. And they probably would kill me.
Right.
Did anyone like of
who
notoriety
answered the
bite?
call?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a kid named Billy Whitfield. You can easily find his stats. He played, I believe, at Northeastern College, but then played in the East Coast League
Okay.
and the old Atlantic Coast League. And he was a tough kid. And he gave me a shot. And we dropped our gloves and squared off. And he beat me. He got better punches in. I landed a couple. But that wasn't the point. The point was the scout in the stand from the Buffalo Sabres was watching. And he said to me after, he said, "Listen, you're a horrible skater, obviously, because you just started. But if you want to fight, I can find a home for you."
Oh,
I
nice.
cannot
There you go.
believe a scout from the Sabres sees how bad you are at
Right.
fucking skating, but he
like
goes,
I
"But
said,
you got
back
something
in
there."
that day, though, there were teams that wanted just a tough guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the coaches would use me in a smart manner. They would put me out on a stoppage of play. They'd
Yeah.
line me up on a face-off next to you and say, "Get him.
Fucking
He's
get-
the guy." and if you didn't want to go,
Yeah.
I'd come back to the bench. I'm not going to play.
At all.
Because there's no need for me to play. I suck.
Uh-huh.
But I'm there to fight. And so this scout got me a tryout down in Winston-Salem in the East Coast Hockey League. And I went to training camp, had a couple fights. I got cut because the coach said the same thing. He goes, "Smitty, I love you. You got big balls. But you got to bring more. Unfortunately, you just got to work on your game more."
Yeah.
And they kept a couple of guys that were supposed tough guys. They didn't pan out. He called me back in December, like a month and a half later. "Are you still willing to do it?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll take you." And I went down. We won a championship that year.
Oh, nice.
We won the East Coast League championship
so
that year.
good.
You got a fucking
And I got a
championship out of
ring.
this?
Oh, yeah. It was incredible. So,
That's great.
So
the
in
story
that
is unreal.
year, did you touch the puck?
I did. Yeah, I think
Okay.
I actually had an assist. and in the book, I laugh because in the book, I remember saying to Adam, I hated that stat because it was like 40 games played and
Yeah.
0 goals, 1 assist, and 300 penalty minutes. And I was like, I wanted zeros across the
Across
board.
the
Yeah.
300
Pims.
penalties.
Right?
Fucked up that
Exactly.
puck bouncing off my shin
Yeah,
pad. Fucked up my stat line.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely was. It was very accelerated. It happened really quickly. It really happened I mean, it was certainly unannounced. I had no clue anything like this would ever have happened. No one did.
It's insane to even have that goal.
Well, because I had the fighting background,
Right.
I still liked the box. I still liked to fight. I still
Yeah.
worked out. I still work out today.
Right.
I just love it. But again, back in those days, you could have a guy on your team
Yeah.
just as an insurance policy to sit on the bench.
Right.
You can suck at the game, but if someone acts up, I got a guy right here who I'm going to tap on the shoulder, and he's going to go out and he's going to kick your ass because you just fucked with one of my guys.
High stick somebody or
Right.
whatever it was.
And so
I know, but to not have any fucking actual hockey experience
Right.
and to be 20 years old and think I
Listen.
can crack this and then start working toward it is
tell me about
fucking
it.
insane.
Tell me about how it would be to try to talk to a coach or a GM and sell yourself with zero resume.
Right.
Where'd you play? I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, where did you skate? Hackett's Pond.
Yeah.
Hackett's Pond.
What the fuck is that?
Hanover.
Is that a
What?
Yeah, is that a rink? Is that a nickname for a rink? No,
You
no,
try
a
to
pond.
sell yourself on the fact that hey, I'm an amateur boxer. Well, so what?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with hockey fighting? Well, it doesn't. But I guess what I'm telling you is I'm willing to drop my gloves and fight anybody you want me to
Right.
help your team. And then sometimes guys would say, wow, either this kid's really fucked up or he knows what he's doing. He's pretty good. I'll take a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see what you
Well,
got.
listen,
It's at least intriguing.
Right. 8 different teams took a chance with me.
Yep.
And, like I said, I didn't make a career out of it. It was 1 game here, 3 games there, 2 games here. But, hey, from a pond, I'll take it.
Yeah.
For real. So,
Yeah. Or
Very
was saying
fortunate.
you would just go to get a jersey. Like you'd go play a
yeah,
game,
I mean,
fight
there-
a guy,
there were
get the
games
jersey.
I played, every game I played or every team I went to, even if it was for one night, I would say, listen, I don't want, like, your $500 tonight.
Yeah.
I want my jersey. And the coach would be like, really? I'm like, yeah, seriously, I want that jersey.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
That was like, that's
Of
memory.
course.
Yeah.
Exactly. The
I'll-
$500 is going to be
I'll
gone in a
spend that
week.
tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I want that jersey. And not one team ever denied me. I got every jersey I ever wore.
Oh, that's
I mean,
cool.
How can
That's
you not
wicked.
love that?
Yeah.
And they're displayed on my wall at my house.
All framed in a
all
nice frame.
framed up.
Fucking
Nice.
awesome. Oh god.
And just so Adam,
Please send us a
Adam
picture of that.
Fantazio, you're in my will. You're getting all of that.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
anyway, yeah. So that was a huge thing for me, is to retain my game ones.
Right.
Because I was aware of what they were all about back in that day too.
So how many seasons did you play where you're running around?
Off and
Slamming
on,
guys.
about 8 seasons.
8 seasons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I said, I might play 2 or 3 games this one year.
Right.
And I'll play again. Then I get called the next year for another team, back and forth.
So and during that time now, like you're playing 2 or 3. So but you're not skating with the team the whole year.
No, I was home here.
Yeah.
I'd be skating a Friday night league.
Fucking around.
Yeah.
But now you're a hockey player, whereas
Well,
before
I'm more into it.
Right.
Because now I got a taste
you're at
of
least
it.
playing regularly, like on a Friday night with your
Yeah.
boys pounding beers.
Right, exactly. So I still wanted to stay in shape. I enjoyed skating.
Right.
But, for like a 7-8 year period, I would get a random call now and then from like a scout or a team, whether it's the IHL or the East Coast League, and they say, hey, are you around this weekend? I just need you for one night. Or I just need you for a weekend, 2-game series.
Yeah. A
'cause we're
fucking hired assassin.
Yeah, because like our tough guy is suspended or injured or whatever, and we can't find anybody. Will you fight this guy and that guy on
Yep.
Friday night? And I'd be like, yep, where's my plane ticket? I'll be there. And I'd be there.
Just a hitman.
That's
Just
it.
a
It was
hitman.
great.
How are you welcomed into the locker room when
With
you just
open
go
arms.
there?
Are you
Yeah,
kidding
they'd
me?
be like,
Listen,
yeah.
people know why you're there.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're a complete stranger showing up like halfway through or 3/4 of the season,
Yeah.
and they know that their tough guy might be hurt, and
Yeah.
they know who they're playing tonight,
Yeah.
and what their lineup is all about, and then you got this new face that shows up.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's a face that looked like it's taken a couple of pounds.
maybe. So people know why you're there. And,
Yeah.
like I said, you're welcomed with open arms because
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Phew, I don't have to fight this guy so-and-so or this guy so. I
It's-
got this guy now who's going to do it for me.
Right.
It's so
And they love
true.
you.
It's so true. And like people who are against tough hockey, like fighting in hockey and all that, they don't understand. Like they've never played hockey on a team that got bullied and run over
Right.
by other guys. Like that
Right.
didn't have a guy who did your
Right.
role. Anyone that like has a problem with it, they don't understand what it's like to feel in that dressing room. It's such a huge weight off your shoulders when all of a sudden an enforcer gets brought in and you're like, and everyone's loose. It's like that scene in Slapshot where they fight like Ogie Oglethorpe. They think he's in the lineup, and everyone's like all like panicked in the dressing room. Then this kid comes in. He's not playing. He's suspended. Everyone's like, ah!
Right.
They all just get loose again, and they're all excited to play.
And there were games that I dressed for and never even got on the ice. Didn't even
really?
get credit for the game because I never touched the ice, but I was on the bench almost as like an insurance policy. And the other team knew I was there.
Right.
So they'd say, well, I
It
really
would
don't know this
still
guy.
impact the game
Yeah, like
a
I don't know
little
this
bit.
guy. He might actually be tough. So you know what? If I'm the other team's tough guy, I might not act up so much tonight.
But you're skating in warm-up.
I was always very smart about the way I skated in warm-up. I always stayed in between the two blue lines, you know.
You didn't want to get called out?
Never wanted to do drills. Never wanted to shoot in the goalie. I just would glide around, stretch out, make it look good.
Yep.
I always kind of had the same thing. Most teams that I played against, I already knew who their tough guy was.
Yeah.
So during
You
warm-ups,
had them scoped out.
Yep. And during warm-ups, I'd always play dumb. I'd always find that tough guy. We'd maybe line up on the red line, stretching out, and I always go, "Hey, who's your heavyweight?" Like just to blow his mind. Like,
That's
because I'm
good.
new. Now I'm asking the heavyweight, "Who's your heavyweight?"
Yeah.
Some guys would be like taken back by it.
Yeah, that's a good
But
psychological
then
move.
also-
You're going straight at them.
Right, and then it's twofold because now he's saying, "Wow, this guy's already looking for me. Or
Yeah.
he's looking for somebody." So I always try to like get into someone's head
Yeah,
immediately.
and that guy's thinking that you don't care who it is. Like,
Right.
who's your toughest
Yeah,
guy?
who's
and
your
then
heavyweight?
And then you got to search within your soul. And say, I am.
Right, and those guys, some guys would respond and some guys wouldn't.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
great. That's good. Like into the intimidation factor
little
as
bit,
well.
a
Yeah.
little
Of any of the guys that wouldn't, was there a couple of guys that just came out fucking gun swinging? Like, is there anybody that stands out to you right now? Like, can you still remember them? And
Oh,
is
well,
it a name
all
anybody
your
would
big
know?
name guys that I fought. I mean, Frank Bialowas, Dennis Bonvie.
Yeah.
I mean, they're legit NHL
Yeah.
tough guys. There's no two ways about it.
Oh yeah.
No two ways about it. I was also over my head.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost those fights, and rightfully so. I mean, those guys were NHL caliber fighters.
Right.
I mean, the cover of my book is literally 5 minutes after fighting Bialowas. Destroyed me.
Oh, yeah.
Frank the
I can't
Animal
believe he didn't-
Bialowas.
I can't believe my head didn't wind up in the snack bar because he caught me with a couple of really good shots. I lost my grip on his arm.
Yeah.
He was able to really throw freely and connect.
Are you guys friendly? now?
I converse with him once in a blue moon
Okay.
on Facebook.
Sure. Fucking Facebook.
Yeah, isn't that
I always think of Facebook as being such a geeky fucking
I
thing. You
know.
hear these old NHL warriors. Hey, how's
Right.
it going, bud?
And there's a million of them on there, right? There's
Yeah.
a million guys.
Oh, I bet.
So, but I have obviously the utmost respect for a guy like Bialowas and Bonvie and all those guys.
Yeah.
Because I was a nobody. Again, I didn't even have a resume to fall back on.
Right.
And they all gave me a shot.
Right.
Because they were in my spot once too. They were trying to get a tryout. They were trying to get a guy to fight, to get a name, and they all gave me my chance. And without them, you guys wouldn't be here today.
Of course.
Right? I
Right.
wouldn't be here.
Of course.
As you know, Doug Glatt and Goon and all that. That'd be nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has to be thanked that they gave me that opportunity.
Right. Well, and you know, Tyler knows much more about this stuff than I do, but there is that code that I didn't realize prior to doing this podcast that's out there. You know, like there really is a little bit of a gentleman's agreement, you know, going
is.
into some of these things.
I'll give you an example. So I fight Bialowas the first time. I believe it was like in 1994 or 1995. He kills me, nails me with a bunch of good shots, blackens my eye, makes the cover of the book. The next year, I get a call from a different team, Springfield, in the American League.
Fucking Falk. I've seen a couple of Springfield games. I love
Right.
that fucking arena, man.
And so Bialowas has since gone from St. John's Maple Leafs
Yeah.
to the Philadelphia Phantoms. And now they're in town with Bialowas. So Springfield calls me
Yeah.
up. And Springfield has a couple of tough guys at the time. No one wants to fight Bialowas, though. So I know.
How does that go through
I don't know.
up to the upper office?
I know.
You know, the coach is like,
Yeah.
nobody's going to fight these guys. He
Right.
calls the GM, hey, we got a problem here.
Right. So let's bring in this yo-yo who's
Yeah.
a pawn skater because you don't want to fight. But anyway, I get another call to get a chance at Bialowas. And I'm like, wow, like dream come true.
Yeah.
Now, well, it was. I had fighter mentality.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I lost round one. Now
Yeah.
this is round two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
And,
it.
and I want round two.
Thank
And
you
I-
for
I might-
serving this up to me.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
might lose again, but I want round two.
But you.
And so the point, though, is like you had said earlier, the question was the code. So lining up next to Bialowas,
You're a little bit better skater now.
A little bit better.
Yep.
It's a year later. Definitely hungry for the fight.
Yeah.
And he says to me, I go, hey, are you going to give me a rematch? And he said, not tonight, Smitty. I can't. I got a bad hand. And I remember saying something like, oh, come on, man. You know, you're not a one-handed fighter. You can go. I've seen you. You know, we had a little dialogue.
Yeah.
And he said, listen, I can hardly even hold my stick.
Like how
Because he was playing hurt. He's playing injured.
He's fucked because he probably needs some money or whatever.
Whatever. But, I mean, he's a warrior.
Yeah.
And he's out there playing hurt.
Yeah.
Like most minor league guys do because they don't want to lose their job.
Yeah.
And so the code comes into play now. I could have easily said, you know what, fuck you.
Jumped him.
Taking
I'm jumping
advantage
you.
of it.
Right.
You know, hit
Now,
me with that fucking
he
hand.
probably still would have wiped the floor with me with
Yeah.
one good hand and one bad hand.
Yeah.
But the code is, like you said.
Yeah.
And you back off and you say, okay, no problem. And as soon as the puck was dropped, I skated right to the bench. Someone else jumped off, took my spot, and that was the end.
Did the coach be, what the fuck are you doing,
I
Smith?
think-
You got to
well,
fight
no,
him.
I just basically said to the coach, he's injured tonight. He can't go.
Uh-huh.
And there's an honor there.
Yeah.
And like you said, yeah, I could have been a dick, and I could have tried to jump him, and he probably would have murdered me again. But I could have said, "F this! I want my rematch right now. I don't care if you're hurt."
Yeah.
So
Taking his hand and slapped it off the ice or
right.
whatever you.
And listen, a guy like that, again, he's an NHL caliber fighter. Whether or not he respected my decision or what I did, I have no idea. But I felt
Sounds like it.
Was he out running around at all? Though?
Not at all.
He was being
he was
respectful.
totally playing within his capability because
Yeah.
he was injured,
Right.
and they needed him in the lineup. They were probably short numbers,
Right.
and he, like you say, he could barely hold the stick with one of his hands because it was so banged up from fighting. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, he was a beast.
Because
He
it
was a
changes. It changes a bit if he turns down the fight because he's got a bad hand, but then he's out there hacking and whacking.
Right.
Like,
I
Now
think
it's
at that point, a
yeah.
coach would have said, "Hey, Smitty, get back out there and re-discuss that situation with him."
Yeah. So,
Right, but it wasn't needed. Like I said,
Yeah.
he was playing injured, and like I said, he's a legit warrior. There's no
Oh,
two ways
yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you
Watching-
talk to any tough guy, they'll always say, "Frank the Animal." Yeah, he was an animal, and he was.
Oh yeah.
And I feel bad for a guy like that. Just not to get off the subject, but there's a lot of minor league tough guys that just never got a good look up top.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
he was one of them. And I don't know what the reason was.
Yeah.
He could certainly fight with any of those guys.
Yeah.
He really could. I mean, I saw him fight Tony Twist.
We watched that this
We just
morning.
watched
at
Right.
the- yeah.
I mean, he was good. Maybe it was numbers, the organization he was in, whatever it was, draft picks, who knows?
Sure. I
But-
was told this many years ago by a comedy booker. He goes, John, I got a lot of planes in the air and only so many places to land.
That's it. That's it.
So
And so he was one of those guys again, that just kind of bounced around and unfortunately just didn't get a real good look, which is a shame.
yeah.
Had a cup of coffee with the Leafs.
He
was-
did,
He's up
but
there
not
for
enough.
No,
Like I said, not
he
enough.
should have had a
should've.
shot because he was
Right.
a heavyweight champ probably
Right.
of the AHL for a
And
stretch.
even when he went to the Philadelphia organization, now
Yeah.
obviously they're known as the Broad Street Bullies.
Yep.
He would have had a shot with them,
Yeah.
and I don't even think that amounted to anything. So
Yeah, it might have just been that they were already too deep with
They could have been.
that. They had all those guys in
Right,
the '90s
right.
and early 2000s that
Right.
were weapons.
So how do your guys? Goon comes out, so the book comes out.
Right.
Is everybody sort of aware of the book? Like within that sort of fraternity of old guys running around kicking the fuck out of each other?
I mean, the book circulated pretty well from
Yeah.
what I understand. I mean, it had gone obviously across the United States, Canada, Europe. I mean, I got letters and emails from people from all over the world basically
Still
saying I
coming
read
in.
your book. It did very well. And
And we never touched on it. And I'm sorry. This is more of a personal curiosity. How did you get this fucking book published?
Well, again, Adam,
Uh-huh.
who had a journalistic background, he actually used to write for Sports Illustrated. He did
Oh,
sports
okay.
writing.
Okay, well, there you go.
And he put the book together, like
Sure.
I said, and he kind of peddled it around to different publishing companies.
And then somebody bid.
They'll ask you for a piece of it, give us a
Yep.
chapter or two, we'll review it.
Yeah.
And he kind of just put it out there to a lot of different publishing companies, and one publishing company
Yeah.
bid on it.
Somebody who probably some guy in an office,
guy.
the sports guy who loved the game, and
Yeah.
is like, oh yeah,
We'll
I
take
could
a
see
chance
this.
on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay, cool.
that's how we got it published. So, to hear from them and Adam and I become published authors and all that, we were like, wow, awesome.
yeah, it's so
We
cool.
basically wrote
What
it
a
with-
weird thing that from you just wanting to fight in this fucking league that seems like a pipe dream to
Right.
now being published author,
Having
and
a
then
book.
to have it being made into a fucking movie.
I know. So that's even more bizarre. And
Yeah.
like I said, the book itself, it did circulate well. I never saw it for real. Adam told me it made New York's bestsellers list at
Wow.
one point. And then there was a caption. I think we were like, say, number 10. We were only there for a week.
Sure.
But we made it.
Good week.
And someone wrote a caption that said something like, not even Wayne Gretzky's book made it this high.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
You're kidding me.
That's
So
awesome.
that's
Fucking
pretty
right.
cool.
Who wants
so
to hear
so the
Gretzky's book?
the underworld of hockey fighting, which we both know, we
Yeah.
all know, there's
Yeah.
an underworld of hockey fight fans. They gobbled it up. They
Oh,
loved
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when the word
That's
came
all
out,
you need is a small
Right.
niche rabid fan base.
Right.
You know.
And then when we got, years later, we got notified by the publishing company that Hollywood had read the book. Someone wanted to buy our rights and make a movie. We were like falling down.
You got to be
Like,
kidding
what?
me. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No, you're lying to me. And the guy was like, no, here's their info. They want to speak to you guys personally.
That's
We were
great.
like smoked. We
What a
couldn't believe
fucking
it.
cool.
Yeah,
What a
it's
cool story.
unbelievable.
Okay, so amateur experience. And we're gonna jump around a little bit here. You know, up until you're 20 and you're with your buddy. Are you guys running around in the bars at all? Fucking tuning guys up,
So-
getting tuned
so,
up? Because this looks like a tough area.
We're south of Boston.
We're south of Boston.
We're suburbs.
Everybody could have guessed that, by the way, by your accent that we're in
Okay.
Massachusetts.
There you go.
But we're driving over here. I just want to say this. We're driving over here. I stopped to get a Dunkin' Donuts because it's my fix. And Tyler goes, look at this fucking guy. He goes, everybody around here just looks like they're training for a fight. And it was some white guy in a fucking jumpsuit skipping across the street carrying a pit bull. And I was like, oh, yeah. In New York, we call those Puerto Ricans.
There you go. There you go.
But it looks like a tough area. So
Right.
even if you're not out looking for it, I feel like you're going to end up banging.
Yeah, I wasn't much of a bar guy. I
Okay.
wasn't a heavy drinker or nothing like that. I did work at bars. I
Yep.
did work the door at bars just for a buck and make money. Plenty of fights, late night, drunk guys. Of
course.
Got plenty of workouts. You know, but I wasn't so much the guy that was in a bar drinking and
Sure.
getting into beefs. I wasn't like a bully back in those days where because I was comfortable with my
Right.
ability. Like
Right.
I had
There you go.
confidence. I
You
knew
didn't
I
have to
could
prove
fight.
anything.
Right, so I wasn't out just trying to be a one-punch hero and knock out people or whatever.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
just
man.
wasn't
That's the
me.
name of my next album.
One punch hero.
One Punch Hero.
right.
Was there guys though in the area like knowing that you have the boxing background and that maybe would like want to try you just
Oh,
because
I
that's
definitely,
their
I definitely had some local challenges from certain people.
people gunning for you?
Yeah, and that's just natural in any neighborhood growing up as a kid. There's always
Right.
one or two guys that
rub
have
the wrong
reputation-
way.
Yeah, that have a reputation of being a tough guy, and there's always that one person that wants to challenge them to see just how tough are you.
Yeah.
So I mean, I had that as a kid growing up. That's no different.
Okay.
You know? But I wasn't out looking for it.
Right.
To answer your question, because I had plenty of it in the ring.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
So
My buddy Owen is a trained fighter now. We were just talking to him the other day in Boston, and he's been doing Muay Thai for, I don't know, 6-7 years, and now he's also doing some jiu-jitsu. And he's like, John, I like the art of, I like studying fighting, I like training. I don't like fucking violence. And I'm like, I know, but I just love the fucking violence.
there you go.
But he gets his fix, man, and he
Right.
and he fucking earns it.
Right,
I'm just out here fantasizing most of the time.
Right.
But like he's in the ring getting his fucking ear yanked
Yeah,
off. He's had
exactly.
enough by the time he goes home. You
Right.
know?
I mean, I didn't fight. I never really fought out of anger. I didn't
Okay.
fight because I was pissed off at someone.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I was always calm and cool, clear-headed when I had.
There you go. You
any
don't drink.
fight.
That saves you a lot
Yeah,
of
that's
fucking. That
huge.
saves you a lot of hassle.
So, I just would rely on my training, whether it was in the ring or hockey. That's all
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
boiled down to.
And when you start playing hockey and you get in you get in your first like couple fights, what's the first win that you got? Who do you remember the first?
I don't really know the first win because I definitely had a few losses at the beginning. There was no two ways about it, and I wasn't discouraged because I always knew, you're way behind the curve here. I mean, you're first of all, you're skating alone, and then you're fighting guys that maybe have played juniors who have been fighting since they were 15, 16
On the ice.
On the ice.
Yep.
I mean, so you're really trying to crack
Yeah.
this level of fighting, so to speak, that's not even in
Yeah.
your reach. Like
Yeah.
you're really reaching
Yeah.
too far out. But
It's still really amazing to me that anybody even gave you a chance.
I know. Listen,
you know?
believe me, that's half the story right there. It's just the people that gave me a chance, sink or swim.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm not going to say I'm going to do the job and then kind of hide when it comes game time.
Yeah.
I always showed up. No one ever challenged me. I never got challenged from anybody because I always challenged them first.
Right.
I was the guy that always challenged that guy first because I always knew my time's limited.
Yep.
And I better get this fight or I'm going home.
I gotta earn it.
So he's not even going to get a word out of his mouth to say, hey, you want to go? I said, you want to go? And fights were easy for me because I was a nobody. No one knew me. So I could get fights most of the time because no one knew who I was.
There wasn't a
No
reputation.
big reputation
Yeah.
until years later.
I just wonder if it's like people see you, like, you know, you're even skating from the bench and you're lining up and you're like, oh, this is the fucking guy.
Yeah, look at him wobbly. You know, I wasn't falling down bad skating. You know, I mean, say in the East Coast League, I was probably like a 9th or 10th grade high school level skater.
Okay.
I could get around.
Right.
But I just couldn't keep up with those type of guys. There's just no chance.
Okay.
But
so
fighting,
nobody's guessing. Like, it's in the movie Goon, he's like ankle burning
Yeah,
out to
right.
the
I
fucking
wasn't
to line
that
up.
bad.
But nobody's guessing that you're the assassin by the way you're skating out onto the ice. Like, he's only here for one reason.
Right.
He's that bad.
Right.
Okay.
And so with that said, again, like I said earlier, my main training, like every day I was on the ice in the rinks with Adam and other friends, and all I would work on was balance. So I could get out to the face-off circle and look normal.
Right.
And then when the fight took place, now I'm really comfortable because I've been working specifically on this.
Right. I'm just planting your feet.
And of all my fights, even the ones win or lose on YouTube or whatnot, I never go down. I always keep my balance. Even the Bialowas fight, I mean, Jesus, he almost took my head off with 4 punches in a row. I kept my feet. And I said it in another interview. I mean, that was probably one of the more proud things I had in that fight was not getting knocked down, not getting carried off the ice, which he had done with numerous other guys. So I'm lucky in that aspect.
All right.
For sure.
Do you have any fight questions?
Yeah. Okay. So you're in the AHL is when you run into a guy like Bonvie, right?
Correct.
So when you fight Dennis Bonvie, you know who he is going in.
Right.
Does he know you at this stage?
No clue who I am.
So it's
no, I'm a nobody.
Yeah. So
Right.
so you want to fight Bonvie? He's
Right.
like the all-time penalty minute leader
Right.
in the AHL,
Yeah.
and again another guy that he did play in the NHL, but you know, a lot of his career was spent in the AHL.
Right.
To get that many penalty minutes. When you see a guy like that, what's the what was it like fighting him? Just to
Well, I mean, it's a dream come true for me. I mean, again, I don't belong there. I shouldn't be there. So I'm getting an opportunity not only to be in this league, because, listen, how many hockey – we know thousands of people that played hockey, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And where do they end up going? Some go to college, and most of them fizzle out after college. Some make it to the minor pros. Not a lot make it to the American League.
Right.
And even few make it to the NHL.
Right.
So that's common. We know that. So I'm in the American League, the second best league in the world.
Yeah.
And I have a chance to fight a guy who's NHL caliber. I mean, what do I feel like? Yeah, I got like a boner. I'm psyched. I'm psyched. Right? I'm psyched.
Yeah.
And win or lose.
I mean, that's just a fucking extreme fighter's mentality.
But
Like,
win or
you know.
lose, I'm still a winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I can blink my eyes and look back just 3 or 4 years ago, and I was skating right down the street on a pond, like tripping over sticks that were stuck in the frozen ice and shit.
I mean, so much of this is just fucking attitude.
Yeah,
You know, to have that outlook going into it is clutch.
And I guess for guys like Bonvie or Frank Bialowas, who are at the top of the pack, they have a bit of a reputation where everyone knows them. Guys, all the gunslingers like yourself are coming after them. They have something to lose at that stage,
They
which
do,
is
but
the status.
like I said earlier,
Right.
like those 2 guys in particular, never mind the other dozens and dozens of
Yeah,
guys that I got to go against, they didn't say no. They gave me a chance.
Right.
And I owe them for that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
Because
who I was.
you got it right there. You know, like, you know.
Every night they get challenged.
And it's like maybe I do got something to lose.
Right.
You know what I
They
mean?
do,
This guy wants to make his fucking bones on me.
Right, and if
you
I
know?
catch Bialowas or I catch Bonvie with one and drop them, I'm an instant success, and their stock just went down.
That's it.
They're not gonna, they're going to stay, but their stock went down.
Right.
And mine just skyrocketed.
Right.
Exactly.
And
It's
over
these,
one shot. So some of those
Over one-
guys
right.
might want to say, you know what? I don't even know who you are, so I'm not even going to fight you.
You got to earn it. You got to earn it.
You're a waste of my time.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I really don't know you. But again, those guys, I love them.
True
I love
warriors
'em.
for being
Big time.
that type of guy, like the guys that accept that many
Fuck,
fights.
I
and-
mean,
Every
there's a-
night.
there's
They
a
never
point,
say no.
And you're a perfect example. But for a lot of these guys, they probably have the dream of cracking the league. And then
course.
there's a point where they're like, they probably have. Because I've done this professionally. It's like, all right, fame and fortune ain't going to happen, but I just love doing it, right? So they're
Right.
going out there, and they're fucking banging. And, I mean, it's a fucking hell of a way to make a living. You know?
Awful
You're
way.
not making a living for the most part. You're
Right.
just doing it because
You're
you want to
chasing the
fucking
dream.
do it.
You're
you know?
chasing the dream.
You're chasing the dream.
And for those
A
guys-
call up for a game.
For those guys, they almost, at the level they're at, the point that they're at in their careers, they can't even say no to a Doug Smith. They
Right.
have to wipe me out and
Yeah.
take the next challenge, and the next week the next challenge.
Right. Yeah.
Because who's watching? Management, scouts, whatever.
Sure.
You can't say no.
And
So
you're kind
the
of fighting
pressure's
for your,
on them.
And you're kind of fighting for your fucking spots
You
too,
are.
right? You're protecting your own work.
Like I said earlier,
You
a
know?
guy like Bialowas who can't fight because his hand's so banged up, can't even hold the stick. Why are you in the lineup? Because I
Right.
don't want to lose my job.
Yeah.
So I can't say no. I gotta play.
Yeah.
That's dedication. That's I want my dream.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying our episode with Doug Smith so far. He's a total weapon and an absolute beauty. And if you're anything like Doug and played some high quality sports, or even like John and I who played, more recreational stuff growing up, you probably got a few aches and pains that you sustained over the years. There's a reason they call it the glory days. You're going to want to head over to AbsoluteNaturesCBD.com. Hook yourself up with the Fight Stories promo code Goon Squad. Get yourself 20% off everything. It's 100% all natural CBD oil products, and it's just enhancing the quality of people's lives everywhere. You're going to want to get on this train. There's a lot of guys talking to us about how it's really helping them out, and we're really happy to be working with them to bring you some opportunities like this. And we want to thank Absolute Nature CBD for being part of what we're doing as well, and supporting the podcast just like you guys. Anyway, without further ado, back to Doug the Thug Smith, baby.
Did you ever have a guy who was on your team and he was also a tough guy and he kind of maybe felt threatened that you might take his job? Like sometimes back then they'd have a few guys that can go.
So my game in Springfield, where I went against Bonvie, there was a legit heavyweight on that team that didn't want to fight Bonvie, and I'm not going to use his name.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I like him. We're friends. I respect him, but he didn't want to fight Bonvie anymore, and he could handle Bonvie.
Yeah.
He could do all right
But he
against
just
him.
he just
He's
lost
sick of it.
something.
He's just sick of it. So, I mean, I got pictures of us skating in warm-ups together, talking. I'm burning his ear off. Who's Bonvie? Tell me about Bonvie. Righty, lefty, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he's giving me the skinny, the best I can absorb in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
wow.
But you're right. Was he threatened? Probably not,
Yeah.
because I'm only there for one night. But deep down, was he almost embarrassed?
He
That's
maybe.
the way I would think. I'd
There
say,
was something.
Jesus, they got to call this guy in because I won't do my job.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that way I'm being looked at?
Now-
I don't know.
Was that the end of him?
No, he stuck around for a while.
Okay.
Yep, and I think he might have even got some NHL time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he might have got a game
As
or
a
two.
fighter.
As a fighter,
Huh.
Right.
Interesting.
but he's just probably sick of doing it.
Yeah. And you know
Whatever.
what? And maybe in that moment he's like, I can't afford a loss right now.
Maybe
Maybe.
Fighting a Dennis Bonvie too. He was a marathon fighter. Pack a lunch.
it wasn't
gonna-
going to be a quick in and out fight with him, right?
That's it,
You're
right?
in there for a while.
Yeah, he's not. He could
Stamina.
go. If
Okay.
you ever see, if you guys that are watching this, check out. There's a fight, Ryan Vandenbush
Right.
versus Dennis Bonvie.
Right.
It's one of the longest fights
Yeah.
ever, and
It's
like,
literally like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
nonstop.
yeah. So it's like, that
Thirty-
if you want to beat him, it's
Hockey fights fucking highlight this in particular. But 30 seconds is a world of fucking time to be in a
bet
fight
it is.
exchanging blows with somebody. I know that from just having my head down and three guys fucking giving me uppercuts. It was 15 seconds, and it felt like I watched all three Godfathers.
Yeah, right. and obviously, I mean, hockey fighting. We're talking about legit bare knuckle fighting.
Yeah,
Dude, that's the one thing.
you
Hockey
feel
fighting
that.
is the one fucking fight where it's like there's not really any defense, man. It's
No
just
defense.
knocking the other guy out first.
Right, and there's no padding on your hands. Like I don't have a glove on, so my punch is going to be cushioned to your face.
Yeah.
You're
Your
feeling
face is
that.
the cushion.
Yeah, you're feeling that. You're feeling it. So
Yeah.
exactly.
Can you? And we've told this story before, but just tell Doug the Bonvie thing up north.
okay. Yeah, so
It's just so funny.
a buddy of mine, in Canada, Antigonish is where Dennis Bonvie's from,
Correct.
and this is where Andrew Evans is the comedian.
Yeah.
He's a tall, kind of skinny guy, very funny dude, and he's saying he's back in his hometown, and he's in the local pizza place, and he looks
Pizza.
I don't think it was Pizza.
Oh,
It was a different
okay.
different restaurant, but they had Dennis Bonvie was like the hometown hero in the small town in Canada, and I guess he must have been doing some like endorsement for the pizza joint.
Yeah.
And they had like a cardboard cutout of Dennis Bonvie, and Andrew's in there. He's like, "Look at this fucking dork," He's just like talking shit.
Dennis
And
Bonvie's a fag.
Yeah, the guy just taps him on the shoulder, and he looks over, and it's Dennis Bonvie right behind him in real life.
That's great.
Shrinks
Right.
so.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bonvie.
Right.
Anyway, we'll have to get him to tell the real
Yeah,
story because
that's
that's
so
just
funny.
my, maybe,
Interpretation
yeah.
of it, but it's so funny. Don't even get him to tell it because if it's not that funny, I'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the legend's better than the
Just
fucking
go with
truth.
it, Andrew.
Right.
Just go with it.
So you're doing this for 8 years. You've got some, a ton of respect throughout the league. It sounds like because then you get a job coaching guys.
Yeah.
Or is coaching the right word? Training guys?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'd say training. I mean,
Okay.
after I was done, and I always knew that in hockey itself, I always knew I would make a better trainer than I was an actual player fighter.
Sure.
Because I was so far behind the curve. I started so late. I know what to do. I just physically can't do it. I'm not as good of an athlete as these guys are.
Right.
So, a long story short, I was friendly with some guys that work for the Boston Bruins.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of convinced them that you should get me on the ice for practice, say down in the minor leagues, Providence Bruins in the American League.
Goon, the book has come out now.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so you're not even banking
that's
on your
good.
celebrity. Yeah, it's just reputation
Right.
That's great.
And
your ability to sell yourself.
yeah. And I just kind of sold that, your guys, like specifically Europeans and college guys who don't play North American style hockey, they should learn how to defend themselves.
Although it feels like they are now.
Right. They have definitely changed.
Yeah.
And so I was
There's a lot
able
of
to
tucking.
get a little stint with the Bruins organization down in Providence. And
Yeah.
it did start off where I worked with these college kids in Euros how to defend themselves. It wasn't so much how to go out and fight.
Yeah.
It was just in case, the whistle blows, a scrum blows up in front of the net, and you just get peered off with some guy that wants to fight you, and you don't even know what the hell to do.
Right.
Where do I grab him? How do I hold on for my life? What do I do?
Right. How do I not get my teeth knocked out?
Right. And so that's how it basically got rolling. And it got completely out of control when the actual fighters who were there were watching me down the ice, working with these guys, doing drills on punching and fighting and balance. And they were like, hey, that's what I do for a living. I want to work with this dude.
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, forget the fucking
Right.
drills coach. I know why I'm here.
So that's how it kind of got rolling. And believe me, I'm fortunate those guys like, say, Colton Orrs and Bonvie, who I got to work with Bonvie after fighting him.
That's crazy.
How crazy is that?
Where you're like, listen, you got a little weakness there. Remember when I
Yeah.
gave you a little tuck?
So, but these guys allowed me to work with them,
Sure.
and critique them. For a new face to come in and try and tell you what to do differently.
Yeah.
Like I was a student of video. I would watch guys fight.
Well, that's just it.
And I would say,
So you're watching game tape? Are you
Yeah.
watching game tape with them?
all the time, and I
Huh.
would watch their fights. I'd dissect their fights, and I'd say, here's how you won, and here's how you lost. So let's work on these things. I'll just use Colton Orr for an example because we
Yeah.
got him when he was really young, right out of juniors, 18 years
Fucking
old.
scrawny kid.
Kind of thin.
Right. But I just mean like he's a kid. I mean, like,
Young
you're
kid, yeah.
you're scrawny compared to whatever you're going to grow to be.
Basically like a high
you know?
school kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that age.
He's a big kid,
Right.
but he's a fucking kid.
Right, but really willing to fight, really game, had a lot of fights in juniors and did well, which is why, the Bruins picked him up. They liked his grit and his toughness.
Yeah.
And I just tried to work with Colton with a couple of different things. Balance, of course,
Yep.
and punching power with both hands. You don't want to just be a one-handed fighter.
Right.
I don't, too many guys that just say righties. And if I tie up that right,
You're finished.
you're done. You can't do anything more.
Right.
So you got to learn to use both hands. So again, I would fall back on boxing. I incorporated endless boxing drills on the ice, and again, just trying to teach guys how to become better at what they did. And most guys absorbed it and they loved it, and we had great relationships because of it. Because they would look back and they'd say, you know what? That guy did something that no other coach ever did.
Right.
Most coaches, what are you doing? You're blowing a whistle, you're barking at a guy, and that's the ball game. Shower up.
Yeah.
But I was out there. I literally would drop the gloves and square off with guys, and I would grab guys and wrestle with guys, teach them how to balance.
That pushing and pulling
all
and
kinds of bullshit, right?
Right.
Exactly. Punching drills. I got punched. I got fucking punched out so many times by all kinds of different fighters because of their power. Guys like Orr, Steve McIntyre,
Oh,
who's
buddy.
a beast. Big, heavy
Big
guys.
Mac.
Yeah.
But just to try to critique them a little bit and refine what they had.
So while you were training with them, these guys were fucking hitting you sometimes?
Oh, definitely. We would put on real boxing headgear and punch.
Yeah.
For real. Like I would grab, you would grab, and we'd punch. And for real. And believe me, I caught some of them, and a lot of times I got caught. And I got put down on my knees a lot.
Wow.
And I'm used to getting punched.
Yeah.
So,
those-
but there's no other way to learn. It's like boxing and sparring. You have to do it real
Yep.
before the real fight.
Right.
And that's what I try to teach these guys. Like, you've got to really do it, or you're never going to learn how to do it.
Right.
And
You don't want
they-
to learn. You don't want to learn it on the job is a little too costly.
you could lose, and that could be the end of your career.
Although that's
So-
exactly how you fucking did it.
So again, the guys I get to work with were so good to me. They allowed me
Right.
Yeah.
to come into their circle, into
Right.
their world,
Right.
and they didn't shun me. And listen, I mean, I owe them all.
I
owe
do
them.
feel like it's funny because this does seem, and maybe there are other guys during other eras in the early '80s who got some fucking, bringing in Mick from Rocky, and they're like, "All right, boys, hit the bag."
So let me interrupt you real quick, and I'm not patting myself on the back.
Yep.
So I was such a commodity. I was the only guy.
Well,
And
that was what I was gonna say.
I'm going to
Okay,
tell you
then.
something. There was not one, and I know because I've been told by so many different people, there was not one NHL team, not one AHL team. Nobody employed a guy like me.
Right.
Not one person. The Bruins were like they set the pace here.
Yeah.
And I was a secret for a long time. I used to turn down interviews, say with Nesson,
Uh-huh.
'cause they'd be there in the morning skate and watching me work, and they'd be like, "What the hell
fuck
is going on down
there?
here?
There's headgear."
Get that guy. Who's this guy?" And I'd be like,
Yeah.
"No interviews,"
Yeah.
because I wanted to keep it quiet. I did it for the players' sake.
You did it for the players' sake,
Because
and then
I don't want the players to be like, next thing you know, they're on Nesson and they're getting fight lessons, and
Yeah.
another team is watching saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
licking my chops. I'm going to get
Yeah.
you, tough guy."
Right.
I didn't want anyone to know that they were getting, lessons.
right,
Um,
or then everybody starts getting lessons, and then the
Right.
whole curve
Exactly.
gets raised, right?
And so I was fortunate because from the Providence Bruins and the organization, I was able to work with 6 different NHL teams throughout my little span of years of doing this.
Oh, that's great.
So I was really fortunate.
Yeah, and they just if you played hockey or whatever, you kind of know that the enforcer role. It's because it is you're usually the only enforcer on the team. There's usually only
Right.
one. Sometimes when it was pretty thick in the league, there'd be a few guys, but it can be a lonely role. So to have a coach come in specifically for that and pay attention to you like that, that doesn't happen.
Right.
You
So
know,
it certainly doesn't
so you're
happen
now
today.
so you're
Yeah.
now at all the games or most of the games, or
I
at
would
least
go
the
to-
games with the big circle on
I
the calendar.
certainly would watch who were playing, right?
Right.
And if Providence was playing a tough team and they had a couple of tough guys, and my tough guy was definitely going to be in the lineup,
Yeah.
we would gear our week ahead of time
Wow.
to that game. So I would say Colton Orr is going to fight Trevor Gillies,
Yeah.
and I'd work with Colton Orr. This is how Gillies fights, and this might not work, but I think it's the best way to get the
To
best.
fucking this right.
The best
You might not
strategy.
win, but just
Yeah.
or it could be anybody, whoever I was working with, and there was always somewhat of a script.
This really seems to me like this is the pinnacle of hockey fighting in the league. Even though it's not the pinnacle, it's already starting to get phased out, but it's the pinnacle as far as like training and technique.
It's
Right.
the era of the super heavyweight in the NHL
For sure.
at this stage,
Right.
where
For sure.
the arms race had already happened. Once Bob Probert became so valuable in the league,
Right.
every team tried to combat that, and they
Right.
start getting more and more guys,
Right.
and then they got bigger, stronger, and it just evolved
Of
to the
course.
point where these guys are legit gladiators. You know,
Right.
Right.
Like,
So
there
now
is
how do
that.
you get if you're all that big now, how do you get the advantage?
That's it. So
Right.
Right.
So now, like for an example, I could use a guy like Steve McIntyre,
he's massive.
6'6",
Wow.
260, lean, hard as a rock, 260.
Fucking scary.
Kidding me.
He should
His
be
fist-
walking around at 300.
His fists were like twice the size of both of mine together. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm talking a serious beast.
By
Yeah.
comparison, Orr is 6'3".
Yeah.
So
Right.
he's a smaller guy in the super heavyweight
Who was still
era.
a big guy.
And he is a big guy.
Right.
Yeah, we just saw him.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's like-
So, like a guy like McIntyre, he was kind of buried in the minor leagues. And I remember talking to him one time during the summer, and I remember having some other people talk to him, and I said to Bruins management, let's get him to Providence.
Yeah.
He's kind of floating over here. I can make him a heavyweight. In fact, I'll bet my pay on it. I remember talking to someone from Bruins management saying, I'll bet my pay I can make this guy AHL champ in 1 year. Never mind that. I bet you I can get him to the NHL within this year.
oh yeah.
And McIntyre
Did
was.
you get paid?
I did. But McIntyre was the balls.
Yeah.
I've had some really great guys. I mean, I put guys like Bonvie, McIntyre, Colton Orr.
Yeah.
They allowed me, again, not to sound like a broken record, but they
Yep.
let me work with them.
Mm-hmm.
And Orr and McIntyre were similar. They absorbed everything. They busted their balls working with me. I mean, I wasn't easy on these guys. I really worked them hard every time I got to be on the ice with them.
Well, I mean, just the fact that you're exchanging blows and sparring
Right.
with them. There's nobody fucking sparring. There's no sparring coach.
Right.
Yeah.
In
Exactly.
the NHL.
So,
and Orr, I gotta say, he was excited that we were interviewing you. Like, he was just like
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
excited
yeah.
that we were getting
Listen,
him.
I mean, I tell you, I mean, There's a bond there.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I know
great.
I know it's absolutely insane to
It
even
is.
say, but when you punch somebody in the face for weeks and weeks and weeks, I mean, you just get to trust them. You believe in them. Like, I wasn't a phony.
Yeah.
I wasn't just blowing a whistle, like I said, and just telling them, let's get on those cones 5 times and
Right,
get a drink.
right. Check mark.
Right. I mean, I'm right in the trenches with these guys, getting pounded, and coming back next week to do it again, and next week to do it again. So I think they appreciated my effort. But a guy like McIntyre, like I said, I mean, there's a big body in the arms race who worked his balls off down in Providence and got back up top to Florida, Edmonton. I mean, he was all over the place.
Was he in
right?
Pittsburgh too?
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he wasn't dead or lost in the minors, but I think he was just in between organizations that didn't know what to do.
Sometimes a little direction and a little
Right.
help. We all
And,
need a little coaching from
right.
time to time.
And it's
you know?
too bad. Almost, it is too bad for him when he did get up there. It was like it was really the tail end of fighting in hockey because
Right.
he was so big, guys that no one wanted to fucking fight that guy.
was
Like
huge.
him and Bugard were guys that people just
Right.
we'll,
And he had
we'll
some
take a
great
pass.
fights. He really did.
Yeah.
I mean, dropping Ivanis down.
Yeah.
Fighting McGrattan.
Oh, yeah.
LaRock a couple of times. Bugard a couple of times. I mean, he had some big name fights, but that's what he was there for. And
Right.
he wanted that role too.
Right.
Oh
He
yeah.
wanted it.
Yeah, of course.
And-
I think you got. I think they all probably wanted it.
They all wanted
If he was like 5 years earlier, though,
Yeah.
like, he would have had even more. He would have had
Right.
more takers. He didn't have enough opponents because he was just so tough and big.
Maybe.
Like
Yeah, maybe so.
But
And if you got more, because I know there's, the hockey. This podcast, we try to interview everybody from different walks of fighting styles and
Right.
fighting lives, but he's just so fucking on point with the hockey shit. But I'm interested. So now you're not training anybody, right? Like that's
No, I'm pretty much out of the game. I
Right.
mean, I'm pushing 55 years old now.
fuck. You look good, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't see you with the hat off, but you look good.
Yeah, I got a little hair. I got a little hair. But the game has changed.
Yeah.
So my position, being a guy that would go on the ice with people,
Yeah.
is over.
But also, you don't want to do that at fucking 55.
No,
too,
I don't
right?
want to do that
you
anymore.
don't need to get
But-
it anymore.
Yeah.
But so you're working as a cop.
I'm a cop in the next town over in Hanson, Mass.
Okay.
Nice little community. I work with a great group of guys.
Yeah.
Everyone gets along. Good team.
We're at the Hanover Police Boys Club. It's a gym. In the front of the place is some sort of martial arts
A
studio.
karate dojo.
Okay. Are
And
you
then
into that at all?
I am actually not into karate. I
Okay.
support it. I love it. I think
Okay.
it's awesome. I love watching MMA.
Yep.
But I'm just always been a boxer.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
I just appreciate that.
Okay,
So,
good. Yeah. You
that's
know
just
what?
the way it is.
You don't got to be a fucking jack of all trades.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just thought, like, coming into this place, I was like, wait a second. Is he running this whole goddamn facility? He's in karate now, too? You know?
Yeah, no. I
Okay.
just, like I said, it's part of this. I grew up in this place since I've been 15 years old. This is an incredible facility, and it caters to the kids in town.
Okay.
And like I said, they have a karate dojo next door, and I go in and work out in there.
Okay.
Use the heavy bags and the
Yeah.
equipment, but I'm not a karate
Okay.
guy.
You know what? You chose one thing to start late in life and
Yeah,
excel at.
that's enough.
It's probably enough.
That's enough.
Yeah.
For sure.
There's some good pictures too on the
Really
way
great.
in.
This is a really cool fucking space,
Yeah, it's
man.
old school.
I like the fact that it's old school,
It
but
is.
you got some great pictures of some people. I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of them are personal. There's a
Craig
lot of you up
Berube.
here.
Craig, you
Yeah, I got to meet Greg Berube, and he signed that for me
That's
one
great.
time. And there's some bodybuilders that have come through here that have left us pictures and stuff.
Sweet.
And
was that Hagler?
Marvelous Marvin Hagler lived in Hanover in
Oh,
this
no way.
town. Yeah, he lived in this town. I used to box in his gym when I was a kid.
Wow.
I started here for about a year or two, got my feet wet in the boxing program here.
Yeah.
And then when I was a little older, I went over to Brockton to Petronelli's gym.
Yeah.
That's where I fought.
Brockton
in
was
the-
a tough town at that time.
super tough.
Yep.
And still is. They still have boxing programs over there. And I went with that that family to the Golden Gloves tournaments. And I only boxed. I knew the hockey thing hadn't quite evolved yet.
Sure.
So the fighting was something that I just always loved. And my father was a boxer. So it's just something that I was just ingrained as a kid. So I loved it. And thankfully, if I didn't have that background, I wouldn't have ever
Yeah.
done the hockey.
Yeah.
No
well,
chance.
I mean, you probably would have wound up being some sort of trainer of
Maybe.
somewhere.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe.
Cool. Because the cops around here, they sort of brought you along,
Right.
Right. To be a cop,
Right.
They're like, this is what
Yeah.
you got to do, kid.
Right.
And did you like train any of them or any of them in training?
No. But I mean, as a kid growing up, you would work out in here amongst all the cops. The cops would come here and work out. The firemen come over here and work out. It's a town gym.
Oh, that's
and,
cool.
You know, you just get to know a cop out of uniform.
Right.
And you know, most of them are all good guys, and it's just something that I just always knew I wanted to be.
I think
Nice.
what this is so fucking out in left field, but I think that what you just said, know a cop out of uniform, know a firefighter out of uniform, know that they're good guys. There's a real community before it. You can maybe even get a fucking get a hand on a collar of a kid who's acting up and give him a little push in the right direction.
Right.
I feel like that is the answer to some of the violence and the shit that's going on around the country. There needs to be a little more of that community stuff.
You know, it did. It worked back in the day.
Right.
You know, I mean, if I stubbed my toe, you know, you could have some cop say to me in here, "Hey, you know, I heard what you did Friday night.
Yeah.
You know, knock it off. Don't be a little asshole."
Right.
And that
you know what happens to assholes?
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that mentality.
Maybe some of that stuff just gets lost in a bigger city, but
because we're in a different world now.
Yeah.
And all kids today think they're entitled to everything anyway.
That's
So
true.
it's a different world.
And their moms fucking chirping about their rights. You can't touch
all the
him.
time. All the time.
But the enforcer role certainly lends itself into the police, career because
I mean,
you're a protector.
There's been somewhat of a,
A little crossover there.
For sure.
The two circles. There's a blue one and a red
For
one. There's a
sure.
little purple in the middle.
And I always,
pie chart.
and I've joked before, I've said it before, but you know, on my job as a cop, I couldn't really do what I did in hockey, which was punch people.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But I bet you wanted to.
I would love to. There's a few people you would love to, right?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Let me retire and start working the bar again.
Here's my badge after I murder you, and I'm going to retire because I'm going to get fired anyway.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
But you're going down with a beating.
Take my badge like Shaft.
Right.
Doug, I don't know. It's an hour. We're at
this
the
has
hour
been
mark.
great.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
hey,
man. It was a
listen, I
really,
love it.
was a really great
Yeah.
interview, and we really appreciate it. Guys, this is another episode of Fight Stories. We'll get into the finer details later of begging for fucking listens and money.
But no, make sure you check out Goon, Doug Smith's
Of course.
book, and the movie,
And the movie.
you can see the difference, but they're both great. And and there's Goon 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the book,
and
and
it is out now, right?
Oh,
So-
and then of course, this video, you can catch this video on Patreon. You know, the episode, we roll it as we roll them out. But check out Patreon. So it's patreon.com/fightstories.
yeah.
All right, baby. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I love it.